Hi, I'm Jilly G. Welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm going to show you how I make my gluten-free sesame chicken. And if you've ever made, something like this, for example, orange chicken or lemon chicken, in fact, both of those I have videos here on my channel for. But it's kind of similar, but a little bit different. But it's also a little bit of a stir fry. So one of the things about stir fries is when you're making them, they go really fast, kind of, depending on the recipe. So it's always best to have everything ready to go, because once you start cooking, it really just progresses quite quickly. And so you want to have everything ready and in place so you're ready when everything else is ready, if that makes sense. So I've got most of the things ready. I actually have my chicken already cut up and it's in the fridge. I do have some vegetables that I'm doing today, but I've already got some broccoli cut up. I've got some zucchini, and I've got my green onions that will be for garnish. I have my big Dutch oven over here, with about 1 inch of olive oil. I've got a pot back here with some rice that's ready to just be turned on. And then I've got my wok, and then all of my other things. But what I want to do first is finish cutting up my vegetables and my garnish. So I've just got some green onions here. I also have, probably 2 tablespoons of sesame seeds. Hence, sesame chicken. And I like to use a little bit of the whites and a little bit of the greens. As with anything, cut off any questionable parts. And since I'm using the greens and the whites, I usually get them cut up, toss them around a little bit, and then put them in this little dish. That way, when you're going to garnish your chicken, you can get a little bit of both. But you could do just the whites or just the greens, whatever. So that's done over there. And this recipe, you don't have to put vegetables with it. I always like to add extra vegetables whenever I'm making anything, really, besides dessert. Unless it's a rhubarb dessert, that's a vegetable. But especially something like this where it's a stir fry, any place that you can add in some vegetables, to me, makes a well-rounded dinner. And you could add whatever vegetables you like. I had some broccoli, so I'm going with that. And of course, zucchini. I really like zucchini in a stir fry. And same thing, cut off any questionable parts. And I kind of like to go on a diagonal sometimes. I think it makes for a really nice presentation. And because this zucchini is kind of big, I'm going to cut some of these in half, just so they all kind of cook at the same rate. And if you have a small enough zucchini, you don't have to take the seeds out, but you can if you want to. And I said to go equal size pieces, but mine aren't, and that's fine. So there's all of my zucchini. Make some room over here. So my vegetables are done except for my garlic. So now, I've got about 4 cloves of garlic here that I'm just gonna get chopped up pretty finely. And you don't have to add garlic in either. I just really like the flavor that the garlic adds. And if you really like garlic, you could add more. And I don't know about you, but I always cut off the little stem end here, or the root end of the garlic. And that's probably the equivalent to four big-ish garlic cloves. Okay, garlic is in the little bowl finally. Most of it's in there. So now set this aside. I'm going to clean all of this up. Garlic is so sticky. So I've got my chicken. This is about 3 to 4. It was about 3 regular size thighs and one kind of small one. So 3 to 4 chicken thighs. I've taken off most of the fat and I've cut them into smallish bite-sized pieces. So those are ready. Of course, you always want to use safe practice when you're using chicken. Washing your hands, washing your surface. I never use my wooden cutting board when I'm cutting up chicken. I always use a plastic one. That way I know for sure my cutting board will stay clean. This is about 2 teaspoons of sesame oil, and about 1/4 teaspoon of red pepper flakes. Same thing with these. You can add more or just leave them out altogether. So we're not ready for those yet. Those come in more towards the end. And then let's get our sauce ready. I already have a 1/3 cup of water right here. And then I have 1/8 of a cup, very carefully. Because I don't use soy sauce, I use a liquid amino liquid in place of soy sauce. And I talked about this before. It can tend to be really salty. So anytime I use it, I usually cut the amount in half. So if you're using a gluten-free soy sauce, this would be 1/4 of a cup. But because it's really salty and strong flavored, I'm only using 1/8 of a cup. You can always add more if you feel like it needs a little bit more. So that's in there, again with my 1/3 cup of water already in there. And then I have 1/4 cup of rice wine vinegar. That goes in. I have another 2 teaspoons of sesame oil. That goes in. Make sure to get all of it. And actually, before I continue on, I am going to turn on my burner here and get my oil heating up. We want it to be pretty hot, so I'm going to start out on high just to get it really hot. And then I'll turn it down as we start cooking our chicken. And I've got 1/2 cup of coconut sugar. The recipe originally calls for 1/2 cup of brown sugar. I like to use the full amount of coconut sugar. If you've been watching my videos, you know that I usually cut the sugar in half when I'm using honey or something like that. But when I'm doing a sauce like this, where it's kind of supposed to be a really sweet coating or sauce, I do like to use kind of the regular amount. And I really like coconut sugar in this recipe. You could substitute with honey and a little bit of molasses, which I actually have done before, and it's really good. If you use honey in this recipe, it really is a nice flavor, but it is the flavor of honey. This one, again, it's the flavor of coconut sugar. So just be mindful of whatever sugar you're using, that you like it. And be aware that your chicken will kind of be that flavor, or your sauce. And then this is 1 tablespoon of cornstarch. And then I just have a little whisk. We'll get this all mixed together. I know it looked like I had a lot going on, but once we start putting it together, it's really not very many ingredients. So our sauce is done. I'll periodically stir that. And then for the chicken, in this bowl, I have 1/2 cup of my gluten-free flour and 1/2 cup of cornstarch. And then I've got 2 eggs. All we need is just the egg whites. Get another little bowl for the yolks here. I'm gonna live life on the edge and crack my other egg into the same bowl that my other egg white is in. You could add in the whole egg if you want to, but I find that just the egg whites in this batter is a little bit lighter. So now with our bowl of chicken, I'm just gonna pour in both of my egg whites and just get in there with my hand and give it a really good mix. And then with my other hand that is kind of sticky, I'm gonna mix together my flour and my cornstarch. We're gonna get pretty messy with this recipe. And if you've seen my orange chicken or my lemon chicken videos, it is kind of a similar process, except it's a whole egg in with the chicken, and then we dip it in our cornstarch mixture and flour mixture, and then we put it on some parchment paper, and then we kind of let it dry out a little bit. This recipe is a little bit different, where we just mix all of it together, and it creates a really nice coating on the chicken. It kind of eliminates that whole process of putting things on a cookie sheet like I did in those other recipes, but I still like to do that for those recipes. So now I'm actually just going to go all in one. And then just get in here with your hand and just stir it all around. And it might feel like it's going to be a clumpy disaster of a mess, but just stick with it and keep going. What we're looking for is for the pieces of chicken to get really coated and then almost start not sticking together anymore. And if you need to lift it up a little bit and separate them, that helps too. Make sure to get all of the flour that's stuck on the bottom of the bowl. My oil is starting to pop, so I turned the burner down just till I'm finished with my chicken. That's how fast this recipe really comes together. And if your chicken seems to be really stuck together, just work with it. Get some of this cornstarch and flour that's kind of on the bottom of the bowl and just keep at it. And then back behind me, I do have a plate that is lined with paper towels that we'll be draining our chicken on. And you could easily double this. In fact, I think because I added that little skimpy chicken thigh, my chicken thighs aren't as coated as they normally are. And that's just fine. They will still be crispy and delicious. So that's looking really good. Even if you have some pieces that are kind of stuck together, we'll separate those as we drop them into the oil. And because my hand is already dirty, I'm just going to get over there and start frying my chicken. If you're not sure if your oil is hot enough, you just look for it to shimmer like this. And I am going to turn the heat up to about medium, because when I add in my chicken, it's going to bring the temperature down. And then just start adding in your chicken. I'll probably do this in 2 batches. And it will kind of sink to the bottom, but once it starts to float, it's getting close to being done. And then you just go until it's as crispy and golden brown as you'd like it to be. You don't want to crowd the pan. So while my chicken is cooking, I'm going to clean everything up, clean off my surface because I had some chicken, take care of my egg yolks, and then we'll come back for the vegetables. Those are looking really good, but they're not done yet. So next up, bring all of my things closer, give my sauce a little stir here. I'm going to turn on my rice. It's just regular white rice. Once I start my second batch of chicken, I'm going to get the vegetables going. And once your chicken looks like this, where it's getting nice and golden brown, it's ready to come out. And now we'll put in the rest of our chicken. And of course my rice is bubbling over. Everything's making a mess already. So what's one more pot? So while my next batch of chicken is finishing up, I'm going to get this pan on really high. You could put your vegetables separately from your chicken when you're ready to serve. I like them all together. Periodically give your sauce a stir. That coconut sugar really does dissolve in here nicely. There's my bowl and my fork for eating. When it's all ready, it really comes together so fast. periodically stir your chicken. And I usually feel my pan, see how hot it feels like it's getting. And now that my wok is nice and hot, here goes my 2 teaspoons of sesame oil. I am going to turn the heat down so it isn't too hot. And then my garlic and this crushed red pepper. And then just saute this around. It doesn't take any time at all. Add in the zucchini and the broccoli and just keep stirring until it's as done as you'd like it to be. Now that our chicken is finished, I'm going to turn the heat off. And just to help my vegetables along, I'm going to add in a little bit of water. That will also help to prevent the garlic from burning on the bottom. But just keep stirring. Now that my vegetables are as done as I'd like them to be, I'm going to put them right back into the bowl that they were in. Get our pan back on the heat, give our sauce a whisk, and then pour it in. Because it has this cornstarch in it, we want it to come up to a boil and start to thicken. My vegetables will continue cooking in this bowl. I cook them till they're really bright green like this, and then of course kind of sitting all together in this bowl, they'll keep cooking, and then when we add them back into the pot, they'll keep cooking then as well. And you can see how thick my sauce is getting already. When it looks like this, I'm going to dump in my chicken and really get in there and get all of this chicken coated in this sauce. And you can see how there's really not very much sauce left at the bottom. We're really doing a good job of coating this chicken. Turn off the heat. Add back in your vegetables. And I'm just stirring until my vegetables are coated in this sauce as well. One of the things I love about stir fries is they come together so fast, but I always feel like a tornado has hit my kitchen. I end up with dishes everywhere. Of course, you can't see them all, but you saw all the dishes I started with. But I feel like everything from the sink all the way is just a tornado has come through, but you have an amazing dinner. And my rice is all finished. And this is just white rice. Get a hot pad. Bring this off of the heat and closer to me. Give it one more good stir. Smells so good. And now we can sprinkle on some of our sesame seeds. You could have sprinkled these on while it was in the pan if you wanted to. Some of our green onions. Smells amazing. I like to serve it with rice and vegetables because you can really stretch your meal further. But let's give it a bite. That coconut sugar is so good. It doesn't, well, to me, it doesn't taste like coconut sugar, but it really is just the right amount of sweet. In fact, I think I would go a little heavier on my red pepper flakes next time. And my vegetables are perfect. And my chicken is staying crunchy. It's so good. And with the vegetables and the rice, it really just makes for a well-rounded meal. I've made this before where I've added in some fresh ginger, and all you do for that is you just cut up your fresh ginger and cook it the same time you do your garlic. And then in with your vegetables, if you're using vegetables, ginger adds a really good flavor and a little bit of heat too. You could add in more crushed red pepper if you wanted it to be spicy. You could really add whatever other flavors you like. But for just a basic, simple sesame chicken, this is my go-to recipe. And if you haven't seen my orange chicken and lemon chicken videos, go ahead and look for those here on my channel. Those ones are really good too. And they're also in my cookbook. So if you've got my cookbook, maybe you've made those already. Again, this is a very similar process, but just a little bit different, and it comes together so fast. Again, you'll have a mess of a kitchen when you're done, but it's worth it. And the chicken, it stays crunchy for the first serving. After you store any leftovers in the fridge, it will soften up a little bit, but I don't mind. It's still delicious. Let me know what you think if you make this recipe. As always, let me know if you have any questions or comments. But thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on the next one.